Hey guys, welcome to what's I think supposed to be the 11th day of Sentimas. If you guys watched the last video, I talked about this in the description in a comment, but I started feeling sick on the 12th of December, and it's now currently the 22nd, and I'm just like barely getting over being sick. It was only really bad for like 3 or 4 days, thankfully, but the sickness has been here for like a week and a half at this point. I'm low-key over it. But anyway, because of the days that I was like really sick, I couldn't even get up out of my bed to do anything. Like I really couldn't record or edit or like do anything, so I ended up having to skip 2 days. So I'm sorry about that. But anyway, yapping aside, let's actually get into what we're going to talk about today. So today is all about unpopular opinions. I asked on Instagram for you guys to tell me some miraculous unpopular opinions, so I thought we could just read them off today. I did get so many of these, so I won't be able to read all of them unfortunately, but we're just gonna go through a couple. The first one says Adrian and Marinette can be cringe at some points in the show. I agree. Sometimes like it can be a bit hard to watch them interact sometimes. Sometimes they're very high school couple coded. You know, when you're walking through the halls and there's these people that are just like all over each other and you're like, honey, we are in a public space. We are in a school right now. Why are we doing that? Like that's sometimes the vibes that I get from Adrianette. It's not always bad, but sometimes it's like you're doing too much. Filagami should have more screen time. I agree. They're so cool. I just love them so much. Plus like Felix's backstory is just very interesting, and so is Kagami's. Sometimes I wish they would like dive more into that, you know? This one says Chloe was intentionally written to stay a bully plus lose the miraculous. Well, I mean like all writing is kind of intentional, but I think what this person is saying, like that was the intention from the very beginning. They always knew that this was going to happen and like this was what was going to happen to her character. Like when they tried to redeem her, they were never really going to actually ever redeem her. And I would agree with that only because everyone says the writers hate Chloe now. I feel like they've always hated Chloe. I'll go back and watch episodes from season 1, season 2, season 3, and I'm like, they've always been treating Chloe like just like they do now. It's just like a little bit more extreme, but like they've always hated Chloe. It really does seem like that's kind of where they were always going with it, and like she was never really meant to have the miraculous. I honestly don't know, and I don't care enough to know. Cat Noir wouldn't be and shouldn't be the next guardian. It was a good choice to make Rana. I understand why Alia would have been chosen, and I think it's fine to choose her. I personally agree with a lot of people when they say that it should be Luca more likely, only because he has that training. That's the thing that I don't understand is like Marinette was kind of thrown into the deep end, not really knowing much, and she had to figure it all out. And I know Alia's been working with her, so like maybe they're both figuring stuff out together. Maybe that's why she chose Alia, because Alia knows just as much as she does in terms of being a guardian. However, she's still figuring stuff out on her own anyway. So it's like, wouldn't you rather like hand it back off to someone who knows what they're doing because you know what it's like to not understand, if that makes sense? Okay, I think it's a good choice, but would it be the best choice ever? Probably not. I do think Luca would be. Anyway, going back to Cat Noir though, she doesn't really know who he is, and there's just like a lot of factors that I think play into like why she wouldn't choose him as the guardian. I don't think it would work out very well, and like would he even want to be the guardian? I don't think so. Marinette is the biggest hypocrite in the show. That's up for you guys to decide. I'm not saying nothing. Gabriel made the show better. This one is one that I can definitely agree with. I actually think maybe it's not just Gabriel that made the show better, but like what the show was when Gabriel was still around, because I think one of the biggest like commentaries I have and like other people have of season 6 is there's a lot going on, maybe a little too much. They're just dogpiling everything into season 6, and it's interesting, but sometimes it's a bit too chaotic. I think if they wanted to do all of this stuff, I mean, they were planning on 14 seasons. Why not actually just like slowly introduce these things season by season, not all just introduce it into one season? I think season 6 should have solely focused on Lila. Like Yaxi Goes In, I think is the most well performing episode of season 6, and I think the reason why is, well, first of all, anything that has to do with Filagami is just on top. Like I've been saying that for ages. No, but I do think it's because they just focus on things that we already know. You know, it just focuses on Lila, it focuses on Mitsurugi and their connection and what's going on with that. Like there's none of these crazy villains that are brought in. It doesn't focus on the bullies, on literally anything but the stuff that we already know about. And I feel like if season 6 had the whole vibe that Yaxie Goes In did, I think that the season would be a million times better. And it would be a lot less all over the place. Because like, I mean, it is fine to like add all of these other things in, but all at once is just crazy. And that's something that, you know, happened with Gabriel. They did add things here and there, but it was here and there. It was throughout the span of 5 seasons. For the most part, they just focused on one villain and just explored that one villain throughout the show. And there was always a lot of commentary of it being too repetitive. And like, yes, it was a commentary that it was a bit repetitive, but I think that in a way that repetitiveness is what kind of saved the show in a way. It's what made it better. I mean, people had commentary of it, but it still worked. So I think maybe we should have just stuck with that. But also, Gabriel kind of brought this weird, like, goofiness to the show. He wasn't like he was just like an evil villain. I mean, he was, but there was just so much with his character, and he was just so funny. He was so comical and so laughable. And I feel like that's what made the show fun. Like, I just loved watching so I could laugh and hate on Gabriel. There was just this certain level of lightheartedness to him being the villain that I think really kind of made the show, and I really miss it. I feel like Lila's a good villain, but she's not like fun, you know? She's just evil, and like, I'm kind of over it. Bring back the goofy lightheartedness. I actually think her as a side villain and Gabriel as the main villain worked out a lot better, to be honest. Luca is a boring character that they only use for Marinette's love interest. I mean, that's kind of something that I've said. I literally made a whole episode about Luca and how he is kind of that person. I feel like there's just so much that they could do with his character, but they just kind of keep falling back on like the he's in love with Marinette thing, and it's like, okay, let's not. This next one says Luca and Marinette should have been together. This is one I disagree with, and I always have disagreed with it. Even if Adrianette wasn't canon, Lucanette, in my eyes, shouldn't be canon. I'm sorry, their relationship just isn't deep. It's not deep, it's not interesting. It's just kind of a nothing burger. They're cute together, but it's like, I don't think there's very much like substance to their relationship. I don't know, I'm very particular about ships and how they work and how they operate, and they have to be really deep and interesting and complex for me to like them. If it's more surface level, then I just don't care. And I fear that Luca and Marinette, to me at least, would be a little bit more surface level. So that's my thought on that. Okay, I really like this one. This one is an unpopular opinion. I don't know if I've ever seen someone say this before. It says, the love square isn't as interesting or cute as people make it out to be. I don't know if I've ever thought about that. Yeah. yeah, that's all I'm gonna say, yeah. Okay, this one is also really interesting. I've never seen this one before. Anyway, this one says, Julika and Zoe will work better as girlfriends than Rose. Basically, like, Zoe x Julika would work better than Rose x Julika. I don't think I've ever thought about that before. Okay, here's the thing. I think Zoe would probably be Julika's type, but would Julika be Zoe's type? I literally have never thought about this before. I feel like I just like Zoe and Sabrina, or like the concept of them, and Julika and Rose too much to like really ship them. I don't know if I agree, but I feel like maybe Julika had a crush on Zoe at some point. I could see that. Mark Daniel over Adrianette, I'll get down on that one. Honestly, I think The Ruler is probably my favorite episode of season 6. There's just something that's like so beautiful about the episodes, or not the episodes, but the episode, and Mark Daniel's just so cute. I love their love story. Marisha is a bad ship. I wouldn't say that it's bad, I just think it's way overrated. Kagami is the best written character. Y'all know definitely I would agree with that one. Kagami's character development is one of my favorites, and I think it's the one that's kind of the most well-rounded. And it's sad because a lot of people don't really see it, or like don't even care too much about it, but the more you like get into her character and like analyze it and stuff, you'll realize just how well it's written and like how well it plays out. Lucanette is a really boring ship. I feel like they weren't a good match. See, finally someone who agrees with me in terms of Lucanette. It's literally just a nothing burger ship. Luca just likes Marinette, and that's like as far as it goes. This one says, I still don't think Natalie is going to betray them. She's just conflicted. She loves Adrian too much. I would agree. Maybe there's like some bits of her character that are morally gray, I guess, but for the most part, I don't think she's doing anything to be evil or be the bad guy in any kind of way. I think she's just trying her best to protect Adrian in the best way she knows how, because I mean at the end of season 5, she sees the videos where Emily's basically like begging her to protect Adrian and keep him safe, And it's in that moment that she, you know, finally decides that she's going to honor that wish and actually do that. Like, she tries her hardest to protect Adrian in that moment, which is why she like goes down into the basement and tries to like, you know, get rid of Gabriel. I don't know, I feel like that's something that she still really holds true to her, and everything that she's doing now is to protect him. This one says, I have no further interest in Mark and Nathaniel. They're just some random side characters. I would have said that about Mark Daniel. Well, I've always loved Mark Daniel. They've always been some of my favorite characters, but I would say that more about earlier seasons Mark Daniel than season 6. Like, I feel like they're finally not just random side characters. They always were, but now they're a little bit more. This one says, Natalie is one of the most interesting characters, and she's obviously bisexual. Natalie was all over Gabriel and Emily. Girlie wanted both of them. That one I agree with, though. I mean, her character has always been really interesting when she was Gabriel's assistant, but also when she kind of flipped and changed. Like, her in season 5 is probably my favorite. She's such a girl boss. I love her. Ondine is also the problem in the relationship. Yeah, I just think their relationship in general sucks. They both shouldn't be in a relationship currently. Kagami x Luca and Marinette x Felix does not work. Thank you. It really does not. Luca is never a kind of guy that Kagami would date, and Felix is not the kind of guy that Marinette would get along with. I mean, as like siblings, like they have such like a sibling dynamic. I think that they get along as friends. In a relationship, no. Philogami is better than Adrianette. I mean, yeah, I didn't say it. Anyway, I think those are all of the ones that I am going to read. Thank you for everyone who put in your suggestion, or not suggestion, but your opinion. It was really fun going through those. If you guys have any differing unpopular opinions that you have, feel free to leave them in the comments. But yeah, thank you for watching. I will see you guys very, very soon for the very last day of Sentimas, which is crazy. I can't believe we're so close to Christmas already.